spoilers, who turns out to have not been killed, but in fact imprisoned for some reason. I don't know if he explains it. I mean, I was too gobsmacked at just seeing his return to like hear too much about what he was saying, other than when he was defining basically what happened in Iron Man 3. I'm Oliver, and this is Patrick, and we are Fortune Theory.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
That was unexpected. I was expecting the usual, hey guys, and welcome back to Fortune Theory. I'm Oliver.
I'm Oliver. This is Patrick.
Anyway, there we go. Shang-Chi. It's been like a month.
I know, we've been talking. Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Even that scene itself on the airplane is just like,
oh god,
your name was Shang-Chi.
You changed, what was it now? Sean. That's like changing Gina to Gina.
Gina to Gina.
That's literally the line. I can't believe, like, we were talking about it in the car as well. Like, in the film, there's a lot of like dialogue that's more aimed towards like an adult's version of like a 12A, rather than like the Marvel version of a 12A, because they go for it based off the assumption that they're only rating it that because of the violence, not because and the concept of vigilantism, which they have to protect their naive children from, rather than like the idea that there's going to be words like vagina used in a film and then somehow still not knowing what one is.
Yeah.
You know, but like you were saying in the car on the way back, you know, it's just the whole thing of like their generation's like more
well, at least
aged
in my
more
perspective,
than ours.
From what I think I've seen in life so far, it seems that like 12-year-olds now, and particularly because it's 12A, 12 advisory, like 12-year-olds now, in like, again, from what I've seen, I could be completely wrong, are a lot more like trying to look more grown up than what at least my age group did when I was.
Well, it's not about looking grown up, it's about like understanding more. They want to understand more grown up concepts quicker than they do.
Yeah.
It's like the idea was that you'd repress that, you'd like repress it all away from them, you'd take it all away from them until you felt like they were ready. But by doing that, you are kind of making the mistake of not preparing them for it at the same time. So like introducing them to not rude words, but rude, more descriptive understanding
scenes
things
of a mature nature, basically.
Yeah. Well, like you wouldn't like
sex
the point is that they use the word vagina in the film, and it's like I think to myself, that's not like the word you'd kind of hear appropriately.
I think you've at least heard of it by like year 7 or 6, which is basically 11 or 12, because of sex ed.
I was like, I'd expect it from like Deadpool or Venom or something.
Well,
because
no,
they're a bit more like.
The thing is with Deadpool,
because it's said more in a
time to make
way.
The chimney fucking changa. I hope kids aren't listening. Oh shit! Like, it's just
sort of thing, like
crazy.
Yeah, but that's not even like the main point. Shang-Chi, just the film. It's like it was amazing. I can definitely see there was moments where I could definitely feel like as the early reviews were coming out, they were saying it's like a top tier Marvel film. It's like I see it. Like there was moments where I was watching it and I was like, this technically didn't have to be a Marvel film if it didn't want to be, because there's barely any character connections, barely any references, and it's like there's big references in small scenes that you could easily like
we've been memeing about,
not go over your head, but like you could cut them out if you wanted to, and it wouldn't have to be Marvel.
It's like when ever since we've seen Snake Eyes, we've been making the meme of like Snake Eyes, like Shang-Chi was so good I forgot it was Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes was so good I forgot it was Shang-Chi, and then like that, what you're saying there, like yeah, it is kind of, there aren't really many references. Well, there's only a few references in the film to, like there was an Iron Man 3 reference.
Yeah, there was the Iron Man 3 reference with Ben Kingsley's character. Spoilers, who turns out to have not been killed, but in fact imprisoned for some reason. I don't know if he explains it. I mean, I was too gobsmacked at just seeing his return to like hear too much about what he was saying, other than when he was defining basically what happened in Iron Man 3. He was referring to Aldrich Killian, who had taken up the name Mandarin, or had given it to Ben Kingsley's character as like a cover-up. And actually, like he's, you know, when Aldrich Killian, the character Aldrich Killian is like basically the main antagonist. He's like the real Mandarin. And then he's like, oh, Iron Man blew him up. And then I got sent to prison. And then I got broken out by your dad, the real one. And now he's like, his character's gone from like a naive, average Britishman actor to like this kind of, he knows his shit now, kind of a little bit. He's not serious. He's not any more serious than he was before because he's an actor. But like, I don't even think he's a real Marvel character. I don't know. Like when
he's
he
more
when they
just
brought
he's
him
almost
in,
like a mascot. Like, well, literally, he was in the his character was a mascot kind of for Mandarin.
I'm surprised they like. I felt like it was a one-off. It should have it. They kept him in the story. He didn't serve any purpose other than just a few funny moments.
No, well, his character is kind of like comic relief, sort of like.
But I think they kept him in there and they kept him alive because he's either going to be useful in the. Well, to be fair, he did have a use because he was the one that got them into Taulo at the end village.
Well, I mean, just like
Iron
Man 3.
That's not the name of the village, is it? That's the name of his mum, isn't it?
No, I think where they came from was Taulo.
Or no, like, where they were going was either Taulo or that was the name of his mother. I can't remember.
I think it was where they were going. Yeah.
So many name complications. Anyway, basically a hidden village that his mother was like the guardian of. She's dead, and like he thinks the villain, basically the real Mandarin, Wenwu, Shang-Chi's dad, thinks that she's in the village, but she's in the village alive and is trapped there. And she's not allowed to leave. So like he wants to break into the village, destroy it and set her free. But he just can't accept that. And because he keeps hearing voices in his head coming from this siren, which is this like creature who sucks out souls and has an army of like, offspring that do the same thing. Baby soul grabbers. I can't think what the technical term is because I'm not big on the Shang-Chi comics. But yeah, they basically he ends up unleashing that, which ends up being like the true villain of the film. And disguising its voice as Shang-Chi's mother, and like obviously Wenwu's the real Mandarin is Shang-Chi's father, so like he's the one who's being like pulled in by it. The whole point of them destroying each other and then the soul suckers just doing their business and having like full power or whatever.
Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, it was a interesting film. Got some good cameos from other Marvel movies. Got Benedict Wong coming back as Wong. I'm not sure how I felt about that because I felt like that was only necessary because he's like he's kind of that kind of character you'd put in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because of where he comes from. It's like it felt more like, oh, we've got a character who's already like that. Let's let's add him in just for I didn't feel like his cameos were interesting to watch. And it was like a sort of moment where like, oh yeah, it's that guy sort of thing. It's like, what's he doing here? Sort of thing. But it's like I felt like they could have done anyone. They didn't have to do him just because,
well, he was kind of necessary though, in a way.
Only for the ending.
Only for post credits, really.
Only for the post credit stuff, not for.
I mean, his part had meaning because it was the plot device, really. Because the 10 rings are the plot device for what led to the post credit scene that, basically led to him becoming, Shang-Chi will return, basically.
Well, it made kind of more sense for him to meet him at the end of the film because of the whole interact. Well, they didn't even really interact. He just happened to see him fighting Abomination, I believe it was. I'm not 100% convinced it was, but I think I heard Wong call him Emil, which is the guy who became Abomination's name, Emil Blonsky.
Right.
As well. But there was something different around like his neck area. I don't know if that's just grown over like the 10 years since the last time like the character was technically on screen or what. But yeah, like I feel like he's kind of redeemed that villain now because they're like sparring partners or something in this place. And I don't know if him being there is like where it's like because of him leaving in Spider-Man No Way Home's trailer. I don't know if this is where like Wong's ended up. There's been a few rumors about that. Because he's showing up quite a lot in some of this like new stuff now. Like he's just been in episode 4 of What If. He's now in this, and he's going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, and he's going to be in Doctor Strange 2. He's going to be in quite a few things.
Yeah.
As well, going forward as well. Like, he's becoming such a bigger character. It's like people know who he is, kind of. I think Doctor Strange has somehow become quite famous as well. Like, I don't know if that's just due to like the fight with Thanos or whatnot. I was kind of, I did think that it would have been him that they would have been talking, that Wong would have been talking to in the post-credit scene, but no, it turns out it was Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel both made cameos at the end credits as well. And I say Bruce Banner because it was Mark Ruffalo. He was like in a human form again with a broken arm still. So I don't know if he and Hulk have like decided it's more civil, it's more societally acceptable to just go around like as a human rather than the Hulk.
Yeah.
But we live in a world where it doesn't matter anymore. So surely he should just remain the Hulk. But I'm guessing they just didn't want to worry about the CGI for one scene. So.
Yeah.
Because the priority was doing the whole Wong looking at the 10 rings with doing his magic around it as well.
Yeah.
And what that means for, Avengers 5 and whatnot. Because Shang-Chi's going to be back for that when they do that film.
It will return.
Eventually down the road. The 10 rings will return. Overall, like, it wasn't really what I expected. I thought it was going to be a very, like, strong, cultured film. It kind of felt a bit more like just anything else you watch. But there was culture behind the fiction.
Yeah.
Of it, which kind of they kind of did that in Black Panther as well, but I think they did it much stronger than they did it in this film. But I think I don't like something overshadowing itself too much, if that makes sense. Like, you watch like just trying to think. You watch Iron Man, but you don't want to be you watch like one of the Iron Man films, one of the Captain America films, but you don't want to be overshadowed and like mentally like over thrilled with like all the politics of a Captain America film or all the business entrepreneur stuff from the Iron Man films. You just want to get to like the main points. And it's like with Black Panther, you don't want to be overwhelmed by all the Wakanda stuff. You want to just get to like the main points of the main characters and things. And like, it's
just enough to give exposition of the culture, but then still keeping to like the main point of who because obviously Black Panther, for instance, it's like they don't talk. It's not like a documentary about Wakanda for like an hour. It's actually
there is a Wakanda series coming on Disney Plus, which is either set during Phase 4 or Phase 5, which is a spin-off to the Black Panther movies, which will somehow have a big connection with the Marvel, like the main timeline of things as well. So that'll be interesting to see in the future.
Yeah, I know what you mean. This felt quite.
It didn't feel it had culture to it.
There wasn't a massive culture shift really for this, mainly because, of course, like the son Shang-Chi kind of moved to America to make it more sort of culturally.
He was in San Francisco with
just so he hadn't moved a half, like he'd moved continents. He hadn't just moved down a day away. He had actually moved country to grow up and become an adult, but then obviously going back to continue the story. But yeah, it was really good, and it will return, it said. So that's obviously going off of like what you said with Wong and Banner and Captain Marvel was there.
He does definitely come across as more of a protagonist character, because when I was watching the trailers I thought, oh, this is like your average like father versus son story where like the son hates the father with like almost like a vengeance or something like that, and he's like, because he's just like this really bad character. But then I think I've been like thinking about and watching like too many cliches of that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
So to see him kind of almost be very heroically sympathetic to both the good and bad sides of the conflict was, quite interesting to see. For his character, like where he wouldn't really hate anybody, he just sort of carries on with how things are, and and even like the villain kind of redeemed himself at the end a little bit as well, like when we the Mandarin. Well, I wouldn't say it was like a full redemption, because it was just more of like he only did it because it was the son. He wouldn't have done it if it was anyone else. So technically, it wasn't. It was like only a sort of like. It was just I don't know. If you got a word or a phrase to describe that, put that in the comments.
it will be available. Is it? I mean, we've seen it
It's
like
in
2
cinemas.
hours
We've
ago,
just watched.
but is it going on to Disney
We've just
Plus
watched
at
it in the
all?
cinema.
Um,
There's been
I'm
talk
not
about it, but I
quite
don't
sure.
know. I
But
think it
anyway,
depends on how well it performs in the next few weeks.
yeah, available
Wait,
to go.
no, sorry, no. 45 days from today, it will be in cinemas. I think I even said this in one of our previous podcasts. Starting today, 45 days in cinema, then it's on Premier Access on Disney Plus as well. So I don't know if that affects any contracts or anything, but surely for now it won't, because they should have done this with Black Widow, to be honest, because then that whole lawsuit shit wouldn't have happened as bad, because a lot of people would have seen it more in the cinemas, and that would have been a fair deal, because you pay more in UK, you pay more for Disney Plus than you would the average cinema ticket. So, but because they did it both simultaneously, there wasn't enough like a correct scale between where they were gaining their financial income from, whether it was Disney Plus or the theoretical
the
release.
fact that if Disney
So
released
it was
something
conflicting, and it
at the same time,
and sadly a lot of people
versus
could easily pirate it, so therefore they were losing money that way because it was on Disney Plus. And also a lot of people would be buying the Disney Plus, which was not in Scarlett Johansson's contract deal, because she was gaining profits from the cinemas release, which would go onto her paycheck. But obviously that was decreased by the Disney Plus release, which is where the lawsuit came in, as everyone knows. Probably bored of the news of it now. And then because of it, Marvel have just decided to cut ties with her, and now DC are looking at her to play Poison Ivy, which would be interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, not to go too off topic.
But to be fair, her run in Marvel's kind of done anyway. So, you don't have her character probably isn't done in Marvel, but the reason for her to play her is the reason for Scarlett Johansson to play her is. So, yeah.
But yeah, Shang-Chi for UK people. If US viewers are watching,
so if you haven't watched Shang-Chi yet, what are you doing here? Head to the cinema. Avoid spoilers. Head to the cinemas now. Watch it. Wait another 44 odd days, and then get it with Premier Access on Disney Plus. Don't pirate it, and
just basically, go watch it if you're in the UK, and then it'll be out. I don't know when the release date is in the US.
I know we get it first, which is interesting. I wouldn't have expected that, but they did have their premiere, and a few podcasters already discussed it, who were lucky enough to go to that premiere. But obviously they couldn't discuss it until the release date, the first initial release date. So
yeah, go watch it. Let us know your thoughts. If you have watched it, let us know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, and wait, what? Well, we don't have any idea of what we're doing until No Time to Die now. We're both so hyped for No Time to Die, which is in like 20 days.
We're most likely going to do maybe a bulk recording,
possibly,
and we're going to start something as well when we go see films together, because I still can't drive, sadly. We're going to do something called a carst, which is a car podcast, which we're calling under the initial title of Carst, which will be a segment on this channel, and maybe even a new channel as well, depending on what we decide to do with it. We've talked about it over the last couple of months on and off. We're just gonna have it's gonna be a bit like Pete K's Car Share for those in the UK who watch these.
But
and
that will look like that, visually. But
visually, it will look like that, but it will kind of be a sort of,
in a way,
10 to 15 minutes in the life of us.
It will be a bit like comedians in cars getting coffee. If that's on Netflix,
we discuss our plans,
whilst we review stuff, and it's based off the idea of, as soon as we've seen the film, we're in the car talking about it.
As soon as we're on the way, Patrick will introduce it first because he'll be on the way to pick me up. We'll go watch the film. We'll talk about how buzzed we are. We'll talk about what we expect, and then we'll come out and talk about what we thought worked well and whatnot. And then we'll probably do the main podcast here, unless we decide that that's worth what it just is. Just going to shake things up a little bit, because we don't want to be cliche. We don't want to be repetitive. We don't want all of our videos to blend in. So, and we just think a lot of funny stuff would come out of it. And if you guys agree or you think we should just stick to doing what we're doing now, then let us know in the comments if you're interested. But yeah, until the next time, I suppose. Till I'll ramble rant on Monday, whatever that's going to be about, and episode 5 of What If on Wednesday, and then whatever Friday's main episode is going to be. So I literally no clue.
I have no idea.
No idea.
We'll figure it out.
Have we done a Friday? I don't feel like we've done a Friday episode recently, have we?
They've been Friday. The last 2 have been. Have we missed one uploads? No, they haven't. Have they? Hold on. No, I think it's been Friday or Saturday upload anyway. Yeah, there's been a couple that have been like an off-topic, sort of rambly ones, but regardless, we've only got a few weeks until No Time to Die. That's gonna be the good one.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Well, a few weeks, like the end of the month.
Yeah. But there we go. Shang-Chi, everyone.
That's gonna be really busy, but yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
See you later, guys.
And, see you Monday. Ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta.
Oh, fuck, what recorded?
Keep that in.